It is time to leave your worries outside and laugh with us inside the Treehouse. I'm Dan O'Malley, along with Trey Trenholm and Raj Sharma. Today is Wednesday, January 15th, 2025. Welcome inside the Treehouse. We deal with a lot of weird stories with weird people as the subjects in them. Yesterday we talked about a guy in Florida who was busted by police for trying to screw a horse nostril. And while I'm fairly certain and really hopeful that's the weirdest story we cover this week, I think I found a contender for runner-up. I'm going to use the word influencer here. But I hope to God this individual is not influencing anybody. A social media influencer had 6 ribs removed and wants to turn them into a crown so he can be a pretty princess.
That's good. Yeah. It's good to have goals. I mean, they say kids...
I think we found the exception to that saying.
I'm just saying, they say these kids today are not goal-oriented. This guy, he is.
Careful what you wish for. I mean, this really is.
How'd he die? He ran into something.
He coughed.
Yeah.
A popular TikToker removed her rib bones to achieve a smaller waist and has decided to use the bones to create a truly one-of-a-kind art piece. Influencer Emily James shared a series of TikTok videos documenting her journey of removing 6 bones from her rib cage in a cosmetic surgery and answered questions from followers about the surgery. The trans woman shared that she underwent the $17,000 procedure and was able to take home her rib bones. James said in a video that she was initially going to give the bones to her best friend. What lucky friends. Yeah. But decided on another way to commemorate the procedure to be happier with mama. The video shows the actual 6 rib bones from her left and right sides in various lengths inside of a LabCorp plastic bag. And James said, I plan on having someone make a crown and incorporate my bone pieces in there.
How much money does this person have?
Too much.
Yeah. And what doctor does this surgery?
One with a Mercedes and a Porsche and 3 vacation homes.
Yeah, I guess this sounds like something like you have to go to like a public storage unit.
Yeah, that's. I was about to say, it sounds like someone who does Brazilian butt lifts out of a van.
You know, the butt lift van.
Yeah. Most definitely something that took place in Miami.
Actually, it's kind of an interesting, marketing and business model, especially if you could do mobile butt lifts. So, and the vehicle that you do them in is, of course, lifted, but just in the back.
And then falls apart months later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've heard of this before. This is not the first time I've heard of someone having rib bones removed as a cosmetic procedure. So this is not a brand new thing. What is the new twist on this is, one, they actually let her, take the rib bones home. Mm-hmm. Which in a lot of medical situations, they don't let you do that stuff typically. Like I remember when I broke my arm when I was 14, they put a surgical steel rod down the top of my shoulder in through the bone of my upper arm to keep it set for 10 weeks. And then they took it out once it was healed over. And they weren't going to let me take the rod home. And I said, "You're going to give me that rod." That thing was in me for 10 weeks. That's mine. They eventually gave it to me. But that's a piece of surgical steel. Maybe they were going to use it again on somebody, melt it down, reuse it. I don't know, but I'm with this individual. If they were your rib bones, they should let you take them home. That makes sense to me. But I don't think that's a normal thing. Raj, you're kind of a doctor, or at least know one.
Yeah. It's highly unethical to do that kind of a surgery. It's very, very dangerous. There's multiple lawsuits can happen in this. I hope they have really good malpractice insurance. So
here's a little bit from Emily's video talking about her rib bones.
Ribs removed. I got them removed for cosmetic purposes. These are my rib bones. There's 6 of them. This one's so tiny and small. And they let me keep them. Plan on having someone make a crown and like incorporate my bone pieces in there, like shave them down.
Sexy.
I hope in the front of the crown it just says idiot. That's what I hope it says. Dumbass. That's yeah, I mean, you're exposing organs, you're exposing yourself to, I mean, such a dangerous situation. You can, if you get hit in the wrong spot, you're gonna die.
Well, I think this chick also needs to worry about getting hit in the Adam's apple, not just where her former ribs are. But look, if I'm being honest, the main reason why I wanted to share this story with you about the influencer having her ribs removed for cosmetic purposes, it's not just for the shock value of it. It's also and mainly because it gives me an excuse to play this clip from one of my all-time favorite films from the 80s, I'm Gonna Get You Sucker. And this scene stars Chris Rock, Isaac Hayes, and one of NFL's best ever, Jim Brown. And by the way, if you've never seen I'm Gonna Get You Sucker, you need to. And if I remember correctly, this is Chris Rock's first ever appearance in a film.
How much for an order of ribs?
$250.
$250? How many ribs do I get with that?
About 5.
5?
Raj, have you ever seen I'm Gonna Get You Sucker?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Trey?
Yes, but I do not remember it that much.
I love this scene. Here, I'll actually I'll pull this up for you so you can see it. So I'm not just playing the audio for you. Here you go.
How much for an order of ribs?
$250.
$250? How many ribs do I get with that?
About 5.
5? So I guess that's about 50 cents a rib, huh?
Yeah, about.
Let me get one.
Right on. One order ribs.
No.
No. 1 rib.
1 rib.
I sure am hungry.
You didn't get to the best part.
I don't have that much time. But he goes on because he's 1 rib's all he needs. And then he asks about the soda. And he says, well, I don't want a whole soda. Just, he says, well, forget the cup. Just pour it in my hand.
Pour it in
for
my hand.
15 cents. Yeah. And then at the very end, he says, do you have change for 100? Yeah, this is just an elaborate ruse for me to play a clip for one of my favorite movies, I'm Gonna Get You Sucker. And it's Chris Rock's first ever film. And anytime, and this is how much movies affect my life, anytime I ever see or hear anything about having to do with ribs, I will forever think of Chris Rock and asking the important question, how much for just 1 rib? Which, by the way, if you do the math on the influencer rib removal at $17,000, and she had 6 of them removed, that's just shy of $3,000 per rib. So clearly inflation's running amok.
You're in the Treehouse. Visit us online at treehouse.com. treehouseonair.com.
You're listening to the Treehouse. Visit us online at treehouseonair.com.
Yeah, do exactly what Cindy said right there. For all things Treehouse, go to treehouseonair.com. That means past shows, links, contact info. Talk back to us here inside the Treehouse with the microphone in the lower right-hand corner. You can do that as well. Leave us a voicemail inside the Treehouse. All that and more on our website, treehouseonair.com. That's treehouseonair.com. I'm Dan, along with Trey and Raj inside the Treehouse. Raj, when you were out last week with your flu-like illness, Trey and I got to talking about something that I want to continue now. Not just because you're here, but because this brought up something that Trey and I touched on almost literally. And I'm really wanting to expand the conversation a little bit. So Trey, your side job is working in a bar as a bar manager at an upscale craft cocktail lounge. Very swanky, very cool. And it makes for a good pickup spot. At least it would have 10, 15, 20 years ago, but things are different these days. And meeting somebody in a bar isn't as common as it used to be, at least romantically, because now there's all these things that can happen. There's different rules now, different social norms. And Trey, you see this stuff, every day. When we were all hanging out, it was very common to see men hitting on women left and right, extremely common, and a lot of times doing so in very inappropriate ways. But things are different now, right?
Yeah, very. Yeah, you don't see that. You don't see the drunken hookups like you used to.
Oh man,
yeah,
the good old days.
What's happening to America?
If there's one thing that could make America great again, let's bring back the drunken hookups.
Absolutely.
But it's interesting because, and I mentioned a lot of the inappropriate things that happened years ago that are not as normal anymore. And that's a good thing. And that is, and we've all witnessed it when we were out in our more partier days, where there'd be a drunk a-hole guy getting way too handsy with a female. And while it wasn't right, it was a regular occurrence. Now that doesn't happen as much. And the pendulum has swung the other way. And this is one of those times where it's not necessarily an overcorrection, but it is a correction, and things are different now. And Trey, you've said it's like there are women now that are out, they're single, hoping to find some maybe romantic interaction, something, but the men aren't doing it.
Yeah, they don't get hit on as much. And then they're looking for a guy to take a shot, but guys are, like I said, the pendulum went so far one way that guys just got, pardon the expression, but gun shy about taking the shot, and they're just better off. They're okay, like just being alone.
And I'm fascinated by that because, I mean, look, I've been in a relationship since 2009, and things are very different now than they were then. Because my now wife and I, when we first met, it was at a bar. Granted, it was all through mutual friends and everything. It wasn't just like a, hey, how are you doing? Kind of a, pickup thing. But it was at a bar. Whereas nowadays that's very abnormal. And online dating is the way now you typically will get romantically linked up with someone. Like we were talking about it last week, Raj, I saw a bar graph, and it was a video, and it showed from like 20 years ago bar graph versus today, how people met. And 20 years ago, meeting somebody online was the very bottom bar graph. It was barely a tick. Yeah. And the top was usually something like met someone through mutual friends or met out at a bar, at a party, some social thing. And then through 20 years, all those bar graphs flipped. And now the number one way is meeting online. And like Trey said, he's seen this, and guys aren't shooting their shots anymore with women. So now I'm wondering, is the pendulum going to swing so far in the correction category? Is it possible that women will now just start drunkenly grope men the way men used to 20 years ago? Because if they're not shooting the shot, then by God, the women may just start grabbing dudes.
That would be fantastic. Here's why I'm saying that. 20 years ago, when you're talking about when we had to go out and meet women, like we had to know how to dance, right? Yeah, you had to have enough money
Oh.
to buy them drinks, right? Yeah, you had to have a smooth line or an icebreaker, or you know, send somebody in to talk to them first and see if they're interested and whatever. Um, so it would be a lot easier because women didn't have to do anything back in the day. They just went to the club or the bar, and then the guys had to do all the work. And hopefully, you took somebody home. I think it's hilarious now that as Trey's saying, like he doesn't see any drunken hookups. I'm like, so no one wakes up with regret. That's amazing.
That's the problem with kids today. They don't have enough regrets.
That's exactly right.
Regret builds character.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, you didn't wake up in the morning like, oh, that's what I did. Like, but
And I
roll over and actually say, "Oh, that's what I did."
and I am sure at more college age bars and everything else, it still goes on. But you don't see, especially I would say 30s plus.
Yeah.
You don't see that stuff as much anymore. You see very much people just alone or with they're with their guy friends or with their girlfriends, and
everyone stays in their little bubble. They stay at their table, and there's no. Everyone's afraid.
You don't get anybody going, hey, can you send this drink over to that girl?
No.
God bless.
No,
that was the move.
Well, yeah, but now it's like, and like I said, the pendulum, God knows it happened, but the pendulum went so far the other way that every girl, or everyone was convinced that someone was trying to spike their drink or do something. And when it could have been just an honest, like, hey, I think you're pretty. I'd like to buy you a drink. And
I think you're pretty. I'd like to buy you a drink. That way you think I'm pretty too.
And a few more of these, you'll think I'm handsome.
Yeah. And funny and brilliant.
The good old days.
Yeah.
But it really is. It's I guess it's totally different now. And like Trey, you were saying, guys aren't shooting their shots anymore, and women are starting to dry up on the bar stool.
Well, I mean, I guess it's easier to swipe right than to have a line, or a move, or to send over a drink or whatever. It's easier to just swipe right, and then they just come to your. I don't know how it works, but do they come to your house? Do you guys meet out? I don't know how the dating.
I usually
apps
meet
work.
in public, and that's you can still sometimes like and it depends. Like my old place of employment, you could always tell when it was their Tinder date, Bumble date, whatever. You could always tell those first awkward dates, and usually within 30 minutes you could know if this was going to lead to a hookup or just they'll be done in 20.
Maybe instead of wasting time and money at doing a Tinder meetup at a bar or a restaurant, just go to the same place where they're doing the Facebook marketplace swaps, like those designated zones in front of police stations. Like, just start there.
Just rebrand the farmer's market.
Tinder Square.
Yeah.
You're in the Treehouse. Visit us online at treehouseonair.com.
The farmer's market is now Tinder Town.
You're in the Treehouse. Visit us online at treehouseonair.com.
Do you like to watch? Good. Well, you can actually watch us on YouTube. Just search for The Treehouse on YouTube or go directly to our channel, youtube.com/@treehouseonair. That's youtube.com/@treehouseonair because Treehouse TV is on. I'm Dan along with Trey and Raj inside the Treehouse with you on Wednesday, January 15th, 2025. And Trey, you've got a glimmer of glee and a little smiling smirk curling up on your lips there. Are you having a big thought, or are you just anticipating this next story?
Oh, just anticipating this next story.
It makes me happy too. Raj, you ever heard the term, you had one job?
Yes.
So I think that phrase gets misused a lot. In this scenario, though, it fits perfectly. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. A bus monitor tried to give away the wrong child to a mom. Wait. Twice. Seriously. You had one job. Bus monitor. Bus monitor. Yeah. Protect the kids. That's your job. And this particular bus monitor failed epically at it. Okay. This is in North Providence, Rhode Island. A mother was confused and upset after a bus monitor attempted to drop off the incorrect child at her home twice instead of her son. To make matters worse, her son is special needs with autism, supposedly. According to an account by Sarah Batista, she received a terrifying phone call last Monday from the bus company who takes her autistic 3-year-old child to and from school every day. Batista said they were at my door with my son and that nobody was answering. I ran downstairs. Nobody was there. The caller described the home they were at, which Batista realized was not her house. She directed them to the correct location, but when the bus monitor got off the bus to deliver her child, she realized that child was a complete stranger. She said, out of shock, "That's not mine." Batista, the mom, said that even after notifying the monitor of the issue, what did the bus monitor do? The bus monitor gave the same child a different backpack and then once again attempted to send the child away with Batista, the mom. Okay. And so Batista, the mom, says the bus monitor got another backpack, but the same child, and brought him back to me. So I said again, "That's not my child." She said finally her son came off the bus, but he didn't seem like himself. She said he had no jacket on, no backpack. I had to ask the bus employees to get it. I took him off the bus and just brought him inside. In a statement from the school district to a local TV outlet, Superintendent Joseph Goho said that both the bus driver and the monitor were substitutes and emphasized that no student was ever released off the bus or unsupervised. Despite this, the mom said this incident is not the first issue her family has had with the bus company. She said, "We've had incidents before where the staff on the bus don't appear to be trained on how to handle kids with special needs or other disabilities." I think one of the problems here is you've got special needs bus monitors trying to handle special needs kids, and it's just turned into a special cluster. I just love that. Here is your child. That's not my kid. All right, hang on. Bring the kid back in on the bus, switch the backpack, give him a different jacket. Is this your child?
It's like, have you ever been to a holiday party where, they took your coat and they just everyone threw it on a bed and then it's time to go?
That's what the back of the bus looks like. There's just stacks of kids on a bed. Like, just grab one. Just pick one. If it's not yours, we'll switch out the next day.
If he yells out, "Is this your child?" like that's the world's worst magician. But here's my only thought was, like, the first time is a mistake. The second time you're trying to give a kid away. Like, that's what that
is. Are you sure this isn't your kid?
You want him?
We only have one left on the bus here. If this is not your kid, then we had a mix-up somewhere else. We're going to have to go back and start the whole bus route over again.
You have a picture I can put on the back of a milk carton?
Or maybe on the bus dash?
Like that Cat Williams scene in prison. He goes, "That baby white." That is not my baby.
You're listening to the Treehouse. Visit us online at treehouseonair.com.
Is this your kid? That kid's black.
You're in the Treehouse. Visit us online at treehouseonair.com.
The RMS Treehouse Listeners Foundation benefits the families of DFW area police officers and firefighters killed in the line of duty. To donate, go to treehouseonair.com and click on donate. Once again, to donate to the RMS Treehouse Listeners Foundation, go to treehouseonair.com and click on donate. And we appreciate that. Dan O'Malley, along with Trey Trenholm and Raj Sharma, inside the Treehouse. Raj, I think this will be your first of the new year. It's time for Believe It or Not. Oh, that's the wrong button. My bad. It's time for Believe It or Not. It is time for Believe It or Not inside the Treehouse. I am going to read a statement, and you, Trey and Raj, have to tell me whether you believe it or not. Okay? Are you ready?
Okay.
A man from Canada shot his first moose and got engaged in the same day. Do you believe it or not? A man from Canada shot his first moose and got engaged in the same day. Do you believe it or not? Trey, we'll start with you.
No. If you had said a man from Texas, I might say yes, but
I don't think moose are very common in Texas.
well, deer, whatever, but you know,
just whatever with antlers.
Just 2,000-pound weight difference.
I've played big buck hunter. There's a big difference between moose and whitetail. Okay, so Raj, what about you? A man from Canada shot his first moose and got engaged in the same day. Do you believe it or not?
I believe it. I would think that it was a if you can shoot that moose, I'll marry you sort of situation.
Gotcha. Okay, well, you're wrong. And while Trey's justification for saying, wait, did you say you believe it or not?
Raj said he believed it. I said no.
All right. Raj, you said you believe it.
Mhm.
That's a bad idea. Trey, you said you did not believe it, which is technically correct. It is not true, but your justification was slightly off. I said a man from Canada shot his first moose and got engaged in the same day. This is not true. The man was from Maine.
Okay.
The fact that he got engaged and shot a moose on the same day, those parts are still very, very true. With blood up to his elbows, Jared Lavers dropped to one knee in the North Maine woods beside his dead moose and asked his longtime girlfriend of 6 years to marry him. She said yes.
Is that like the main version of hiding the ring in the cake?
Man, Maine engagements are really elaborate and gross.
First of all, you got to give him credit for getting a moose to eat a ring.
Yeah, usually when you're getting engaged, you're thinking about different types of dresses. Here, you've got to dress the moose.
Some people are just boring and put it in the champagne glass.
I know it does beg the question, if you put the ring in the moose, that the bride-to-be would say, how'd you get that in there?
There's a guy in Florida going, put it in its nose.
I know how he did it. Oh, God.
You're in the Treehouse. Visit us online at treehouseonair.com. us online at treehouseonair.com.
If you like the Treehouse Show, then you will love us on social media. Give us a follow at Treehouse On Air. That is our handle across all the social media platforms, at Treehouse On Air on social media. We're fun, I swear. All right, today is Wednesday, January 15th, 2025. Let's celebrate with some birthdays. What do you say?
Mm-hmm.
All right, today, birthdays. Dove Cameron turned 29. She was kind of a big deal on the Disney Channel. She was the twins on Liv and Maddie. She's also Maleficent's daughter, Mal, in the Descendants movies. She was also Amber Von Tussle on Hairspray Live. I do remember she was also she was a character on Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show for a little while. That's the only way that I kind of know her. Dove Cameron, 29 today. Skrillex, though. Skrillex is 37. He's the producer responsible for lots of music, including, is it possible to have, like, what's the most beats per minute you can have? Apparently he pushes the envelope there.
I don't know.
I know, like 130 is up there.
I think that's where he lives, somewhere in there. Skrillex, legendary DJ. He is 37 today. Pitbull is 44 today. Latin hip-hop superstar Pitbull is 44. This gives me a brief moment to reflect on my conspiracy theory, one of the only ones that I subscribe to. I am not a conspiracy theory nut. Raj, you are. You're our Treehouse conspiracy theory guy.
Yes.
And I'm not sure if I've shared this one with you, but one of the few conspiracies that I think actually may be true is Pitbull and Kenny Chesney might be the same person. They look exactly alike. They're both talented musicians, and they're tiny and bald. Just one's a Latin hip-hop star, and one's a country megastar.
Okay, that's the look-alike part, because their face is nothing alike.
It's hard to tell. I don't know if I've ever actually seen Pitbull's face.
And is Pitbull really a talented musician?
I didn't want to say he wasn't, because I'm not a Latin hip hop expert, so I don't know if he's good or not. There's a couple of his songs that I kind of like that I'm, oh, okay, yeah.
Well, yeah, catchy tune, but I don't know about talented musician.
All right, fine. Forget that part. My conspiracy theory that I think might be true is that those two might be the same person, Pitbull and Kenny Chesney.
I would like to test that out by switching them out for their audiences.
Oh, that's a Freaky Friday I want to watch.
Mm-hmm.
That's a debacle I would love to see.
You know what? Here's the thing. I think Kenny Chesney could go Latin hip hop.
Sure, yes.
I don't know if Pitbull could pull off. You think my tractor's sexy?
Yeah.
It would be a very hip hop version of that song.
I'd be open to hearing a Latin hip hop version of "Do You Think My Tractor's Sexy?" Look, if they want to put the conspiracy to bed, they join up for a tour together, or even just one show. But a tour would be cool. Kenny Chesney, Pitbull, the Conspiracy Tour. And then just for funsies, they occasionally switch song sets with each other.
Your conspiracy theories are as good as your movie choices.
Killer babies from Mars.
How does that not hook you in? That sounds like a great premise to a film.
Yes.
You guys just don't know how to have any fun. That's all it is. If you're scrolling through on a Friday night on God knows what, however many platforms there are these days, and you're scrolling through trying to find a movie and one pops up that says Killer Babies from Mars, you wouldn't stop down and at least watch the trailer?
No.
I
I think because of how much you work out, you're just looking for an excuse for popcorn and candy. And so that's why you watch those movies.
I'm really into movie theater hot dogs too.
Okay, so am I.
Gotta make sure I get my protein in. Is that weird?
No, I get one every single time I'm there.
Seriously, like the movie theater we go to has one of the best hot dogs that I've found. Like even restaurants that have hot dogs on the menu, not as good as the one at the movie theater.
I believe you. I'm a fan. I like 7-Eleven hot dogs. But then again, I'm Indian. I like anything at 7-Eleven.
You're just a walking stereotype then. I like the hot dogs from QT.
Oh yeah, those are good. I don't know how we went from Pitbull to hot dogs, but
yeah,
they all look the
I don't know
same.
why hot dogs got smeared with your bad movies.
Look, you put a cowboy hat or some big dark shades on a QT hot dog, it's gonna look like Pitbull and or Kenny Chesney.
And the conspiracy grows.
You're in the Treehouse. Visit us online at treehouseonair.com.
You're listening to The Treehouse. Visit us online at treehouseonair.com.
There's even a link at treehouseonair.com to our Patreon channel. You can subscribe to Treehouse Plus on Patreon. You get bonus content, subscriber-only episodes, and that includes video. Yeah, you can watch the Treehouse. Those are all available at patreon.com/treehouseonair. That's patreon.com/treehouseonair to subscribe to Treehouse Plus. What is it, Trey? You got that look in your eye again.
Oh, just thinking about your, movie choices and hot dogs. You like things that you don't know what the are in them.
Or where they came from.
Yeah. Lips and asses.
He's like, I've seen that one.
I have. It's Dan Aykroyd in The Great Outdoors. Starring John Candy, Dan Aykroyd, the movie Great Outdoors, where he says, no, John Candy says, we're going to make hot dogs. And Dan Aykroyd says, hot dogs? You know what's in those, right? Lips and holes. I have a movie problem. Oh, okay. Speaking of movie problems, and if you don't want to watch a hot dog to any of these movies, I'm just going to stop talking and tell you about the new Tinkerbell. How about that? You guys remember last year when we discussed briefly the new Winnie the Pooh movies, Blood and Honey, the horror adaptations of the original books and stories?
Well, I don't think those were put out by Disney, but
no, definitely not.
I don't know if they say the new Winnie the Pooh movies. I just say someone's take on a Winnie the Pooh movie.
That wasn't put out by Disney. That was put out by Steve.
Yeah.
You're not far off, Raj. Look, okay, there's a new Peter Pan horror movie coming out. Peter Pan, right? Captain Hook, Peter Pan, right? There's a new Peter Pan horror movie coming out, and it's going to feature Tinkerbell as a transsexual heroin addict. This is not some sort of woke mob agenda thing. This is what happens when stories that were at one point copywritten by major corporations go into the public domain, and all of us idiots get to play with them. That's exactly what this is. This is a derivative of that. This Peter Pan horror film, known as Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare, is an offshoot from the Poohniverse that kicked off with the first two Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey movies, which, by the way, as if everything I've just said to you is not shocking enough, there was a sequel to Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey. So there's Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey 1 and 2.
How was it?
You know what? Sometimes you just need to watch something for yourself, okay? So this whole Poohniverse is getting more twisted by the minute. One of the upcoming movies from the Poohniverse is Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare, and it features a Tinkerbell who's hooked on heroin. The director himself even describes the character's backstory as, quote, pretty up. So in the movie that's going to come out next year, Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare, Tinkerbell is actually born biologically male, and his name is Timmy. Because he identifies as female, Peter Pan won't let Timmy be one of his lost boys. Instead, he offers to let Timmy be a magical fairy who gets pixie dust every time he does what he's supposed to. But in this case, the pixie dust is heroin. The special effects team even gave Tinkerbell decaying flesh and track marks on her arms. But the director says, this is not a villain. All these people, they're brainwashed. They don't know any other way. And as if Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 1 and 2 isn't bad enough, now we're going to get Peter Pan and his Neverland Nightmare with a Tinkerbell that is a trans heroin addict. That's not all.
Well,
because on February 7th, Bambi the Reckoning is coming out.
but you make it sound like it's, Peter Pimp.
I haven't seen the movie, Trey. It may very well be.
Well, you said he only gives the pixie dust when she does something right. That's
yeah. I don't know if I don't know. Maybe in Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare, maybe there's some serious, human sex trafficking going on with Tinkerbell. I mean, that makes a lot of sense with the Lost Boys.
I grew up watching, the cartoon Peter Pan, and I saw the movie Hook, and I never thought in a million years I'd hear Peter Pan go, "Bitch, where's my money?"
Yeah. That's like saying, "Don't make Wayne Brady slap a hoe."
But let's also keep in mind that cross-dressing in the middle of a Peter Pan movie or storyline is not a new thing. That's actually pretty common in Hollywood, Peter Pan, because Peter Pan is historically many times played by a woman. In this case, though, the roles are reversed now that Tinkerbell is trans and hooked on smack.
Can't wait to see Captain Hook.
I didn't even think about that, and that makes two of us. Because if that's how jacked up Tinkerbell is, what is Captain Hook? Oh my God. It'd actually be hysterical if all they did was just bring Dustin Hoffman back as Hook.
That's where the
say,
whole
man, what the hell
goes.
happened to Rufio? All right, thanks for hanging out with us inside the Treehouse. For all things Treehouse, go to treehouseonair.com. Be sure to find and follow us on social media. That, of course, includes for the show at Treehouse on Air. For me, it's at the Dan O'Malley. For Trey, it's at Trey Trenholm 1. And for Raj, it's at Comedian Raj. We'll see you tomorrow right here inside the Treehouse.